Hey, welcome to another episode of Expedition Marriage. I'm Chris with my one.
Oh, brother. Take 3.
Hey, welcome to another episode of Expedition Marriage. I am Chris with my lovely bride, Jamie. Thank you for showing up. We're glad that you're here today.
You're so adorable.
You
have such a likability factor. I love it. I love
like
it.
That.
Yeah. And I am excited for today's episode.
See, you're excited too. She just doesn't. I'm more excitable. I show it a little more.
No.
She's excited too.
I'm excited because I snuck a little bit of banana bread.
Oh.
Chris has been on this banana bread making kick. We have gluten-free banana bread, and he's been adding some chocolate chips here and there, some different things.
I'm trying to perfect the recipe. The next time, the next go at it is, I'm going to put coconut sugar in it just to see.
We'll see if that works. Well, I'm excited because I got to sneak a little banana bread, and we just had our Creo brew, and
still drinking it.
Yeah, that stuff is so good. Neither of us are coffee drinkers, and I'm just going to tell you about
neither
this.
of us are being promoted for
No, we don't get paid for
promotion.
this. This is just, it's one of the things we like. Because we're not coffee drinkers, I personally like caffeine jacks me up too much. I can't take it. But if you haven't heard of this drink, it's called Creo Brew. It is like a cacao drink. You can make it hot or cold. It is a commercial, but it is good. I'm obsessed with this, and you can buy it in so many different flavors, like chocolate, caramel, cinnamon, pumpkin spice, like all these different things, hazelnut, and we mix it with the different creamers, and it's just so good. But it has natural energy that's not caffeine. I can't explain it. You got to go read it, but I'll put the link so you can grab some. But again, we don't get anything. I just really like it, and it's got me all pumped up for
all this energy. She was taking a nap a half an hour ago. Now she's drinking Creo Brew, and boom!
I was not. I was in the kitchen stealing pumpkin bread or banana bread.
Banana bread, yeah.
That's it. Well, anyway, I just want to share, as we get started, because this is a little bit of a different topic, different idea for us, absolutely marriage related. We've been talking, because it's the new year, and new year, you start talking about stuff. You get all deep and thinking and stuff, and into
intense
resolutions, and one of the things...
Remorseful, grieving, whatever,
all
the feels.
Do you need some time here, honey?
You need to process.
Well, anyway, one of the things we were talking about, or have been talking about, is how we want to share with you what God wants you to know.
Yeah.
What he wants to share with you, because, this is a ministry we do, but it's also a business. And so we have other voices speaking into our lives because we got to learn how to do things.
I was just thinking, this is a ministry we do because we don't get paid for the podcast.
Right. We get nothing.
No, but seriously, so we're trying to reach out to you all. We're trying to be a voice of hope and of encouragement.
That's right.
In your marriage. Okay.
Right. So, and there's a lot of things to learn in this. And so there are other voices that come into our lives. There's people teaching us how to do Instagram, people teaching us what the latest trends are, how you do this, how you make content, courses, how you even podcast, and what topics, what do people want to know about?
We break that rule.
Yeah, we do. We totally do. But it's not difficult to get flooded with all these outsiders' opinions telling you, well, here's the trend, you have to do this, or here's that.
Got to do this now.
And we're not really great at listening to these people because we kind of go rogue anyway, but we do appreciate the insight. But at the end of the day, I don't want to, and we don't want to ever share with you what some content creator says you need to hear. We don't want to do the trends that somebody in the business world says, oh, this is what you need to do. We want to give you and bring you what God says he wants for you.
Right.
And so that's kind of where we're at today. And that's what this episode is brought to. And it's kind of out of my Bible study time. We both do the She Reads Truth, He Reads Truth studies. We do the same book together, and then we come together and talk about them. And I was a little bit ahead of them. We'll put the links to those because it's a great way
it is a great thing
for you as a couple to do a Bible study together.
Sure, yeah. If you haven't done the Newlywed Couples Devotional yet, do that. But then if you've done that...
Now that's a plug.
That's a commercial. Then you could do the He Reads Truth, She Reads Truth.
Yeah, and so it's just their books of the Bible and their topical studies, their book studies, whatever. They have tons to choose from. Great way to study. But right now, we're in the book of Judges. And I was reading the other morning about Samson.
Yep.
And I don't know if you know this, but a gaslighting relationship is in the Bible.
Sure,
Now,
yeah.
this is not about Bible study. Here's what this scripture means. This is about what God pointed out to me going, that's what that is. And so there's so many different things to learn from scripture. So this is not an inductive Bible study. I will just tell you that right now. It's not what that is.
Get out your colored pens.
Yeah, we're not doing that. Yeah. So we're going to break this down. But first of all, I'll just hand this over to you. Give the breakdown on Samson so we can set this up nicely.
Sure.
And I'm going to have some more of my drink.
Okay, yeah. Of course, when you say break it down, of course, the first thing I want to do is.
No.
Okay, but once we get past that, so Creo Brew.
Yes, great plug.
Great energy, without caffeine.
Yeah.
Okay, so all right, let's talk about Samson. So Samson's one of the judges. Look, he's absolutely an example that God uses imperfect people. If you've spent time reading about Samson, it's just like, dude, this guy is
what are you doing?
He's a judge. He's a jerk.
Yeah. Sleeping with prostitutes.
Yeah. His dad said, hey, don't be outside of the Israelites. That kind of goes against God. I'm going to do what I want to, Dad. And I'm so strong and nothing's going to stop me anyway. And so he's yeah.
That's the best Samson interpretation I've heard.
I killed a lion with my bare hands, and then I took his jaw. Right? So there's lots of stuff. So really strong guy. He's the one with the long hair. So in case anybody's wondering.
That's where his power comes from.
Yeah, that's where
his power comes from God.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
Via his long hair.
Right. And so he wasn't supposed to cut his hair. So that was the deal. And so he was imbued. Right. Yeah. Sure. With this extraordinary strength, and which he used flippantly, but in the end results against God's enemies, the Philistines. So part of the problems with the judges, right? They'd be worshiping whomever they liked. So they would do what they saw fit in their own eyes, and it would go against God. And then so God, as part of the punishment, he would let these other surrounding countries invade them and take them over, and then they'd be miserable. And then after a few years, they would cry out to God, and then God would have a judge
and put that pattern on repeat.
And repeat. When it's not like,
so unlike what we do today.
Fortunately, that chain's broken.
Yeah, good thing we stopped that.
Again, it's like the Israelites in the wilderness. It's like, what do we have to learn from them? But, everything. So here we go. We got to Samson. He's one of the last judges. And the Philistines and the Israelites, they have been at it for, decades, hundreds of years. And so he keeps messing. He keeps messing with the Philistines. I mean, killing them, had a bet kind of thing going on, and then went off and killed 30 of them and took their stuff, which you'd think, well, that's not really the model that we want for our children.
Right.
So anyway, point being is he ends up doing a lot that he shouldn't be doing. So he also gets involved with a lot of women he shouldn't, which as counselors speaks to us as far as some issues, but especially when he hooks up with Delilah.
Right.
Not a woman that he should marry, and that's where we're at. He's emotionally entrenched with this Delilah. He's definitely doing things with her.
Well, he loves her.
Yeah, he loves her, but he's doing things with her that he shouldn't, and that's part of that emotional tie to it, that he's so kind of tied in with her that he is allowing things to go on that probably shouldn't.
Right.
Yeah.
That's right. And so his love for her kind of blinded him.
Oh, yeah.
And this is what I'm going to pick up here. This is in Judges 16 in verse 6. It says, so Delilah said to Samson, they're together. Delilah said to Samson, please tell me, where does your great strength come from? How could someone tie you up and make you helpless? Okay, can we just talk about red flags? Right there. And that's where I want to go with this, because the way this breaks down, this happens in marriages. And we're going to tie that together. But right there, that is a clue. At that point, Samson should be saying, okay, I'm done. Because what she's asking...
At least be cautious about this.
Right.
Yeah.
What she's asking is, what are your greatest vulnerabilities so I can abuse them and take advantage
Exploit
of them?
them, right? You know,
Right.
so first off, if it was just the first question, where he says, "Please tell me where your great strength comes from."
Yeah.
That's
That's
that's a
fine.
great conversation to have. Sharing our vulnerabilities in marriage is a great thing to do because it helps actually build us closer. But then that second part, where how could someone tie you up and make you helpless?
There's never a need for that question.
No, that's
There's just not a need for that.
and it's not just personal. It's not like, hey, it's how can someone,
Right.
right?
Right.
So it's really kind of an odd red flag question.
Yeah, because here the Philistines have asked Delilah, go get this information. That's the backstory to that, is go get this because we want to take this big strong guy down.
Yes.
And so here she's setting the ground.
Sounds like it's definitely a one-sided relationship. She's not as into him, and she's looking for the manipulation and,
Well, they're offering to pay her.
yeah.
And so it's like, I like you, but not that much.
Yeah.
Not that much. And
I
so
like this gold boy.
she's asking this question, but here's the thing. Here's the deal. It's one thing for her to show her cards and go, hey, tell me how to tie you up and break you down. But it's another, and here's where Samson knows this is shady. He knows it's shady, and we can tell that by verse 7, where what he tells her is, if they tie me up with 7 fresh bowstrings that have not been dried, I will become weak and be like any other man. Okay, so if he trusted her, if he did not know she was up to no good, he wouldn't have lied.
You're right.
So his first thing is, you just did something wrong, but I'm not going to really address it.
I'm not going to call you out for it.
That's right.
I'm just going to go ahead and lie. I'm going to play a game with you.
Right. And this is going to lead to nowhere good for Samson.
No.
And so what happens? He's like, oh, here's what you do. Well, she did it. Calls the Philistine leaders. They come to get him. Well, he busts out of these ropes and surprise, just kidding. That wasn't how you do it. They get all mad. And so here's Delilah's response to Samson. Then she said to him, you have mocked me and told me lies. Won't you please tell me how you can be tied up? That is gaslighting 101 right there. That is emotional manipulation. The problem, because basically the problem isn't that I tied you up and tried to have people come kill you. The problem is you lied to me.
Yeah, I can't believe it. I'm wounded.
Yes, and that's what she's setting up for. That is gaslighting, and if you don't know, gaslighting is emotional abuse, and it's a very effective form of emotional abuse, and it's taking power and control over somebody else. It's causing them to question their sanity, to doubt their own feelings and their
Right.
own gut instincts. So just in that first one, Samson knew, you know what, this is not right, but it's not wrong enough for me to not let it play out.
Yeah. Or I'm not secure enough to go ahead and call this out and going, hey,
Right.
that's not an appropriate question to be asking. Or what is it that you have in mind? Because that doesn't sound like this is constructive.
Even, why do you want to know that?
Yeah.
You need to be asking more questions. And so we don't want love to blind us to things. And so it goes on again. She does this, and then she tells him again, tell me really what it is. And so he tells her something new. Well, it's the type of ropes. If you tie me with new ropes, that's what's going to take my strength. So she tells the Philistine leaders. And again, the second time they come to try to get him, and he busts free again. And so here we are again. What does Delilah say to him? You've mocked me. This is your fault. Look what you're doing to me. Don't mind.
Look at how you're making me look. You're embarrassing me.
Right. You have mocked me all along and told me lies. You're the liar. Don't worry.
Yeah.
Don't worry that I'm tying you up every night and handing you over to people who want to kill you. The problem is that you're lying to me. And so again, she says, tell me how you can be tied up. Samson should be getting a clue.
At least after after the people burst through the door and try to take advantage of him.
Yes.
Oh, he's weak now. Let's get him. Because if the Philistines could take him out, he's the strong dude. He's like the champion. If we could take him out, then who's going to stop us, right? We got to get through him, and then we can then run over the rest of Israel with no problem.
Right. Yeah, he's definitely a force to be reckoned with, that they want to rid themselves of the problem that they have with Samson. And now I'm sure Delilah is approaching this in a victim mentality. And I'm sure she's laying on the guilt. And really, it's not just as simple as we're reading here, as she says this one thing. I'm sure it's this whole situation of, I can't believe you're doing this to me. You mocked me in front of the Philistine leaders, and you're making me look dumb here. And like laying on the guilt because, and I'm only guessing that because Samson is buying it.
Right. He's sticking around.
He's sticking around. And so he's buying it.
And he does it again.
Yes, he does it again. And so he tells her this time, hey, now you got to weave the braids around my hair, do all of this. And she does the exact same thing. They come still, they cannot get him. He's lied about this for a third time. And now she amps up her game. And she says, how can you even say I love you? And it's kind of this scenario. If you loved me, you would tell me.
You tell me you love me, but you're not showing it.
And here what she's really asking is, if you'd love me, you'd tell me how to destroy you. That is what's underneath her question. That's what the ultimate question is. And that's not okay. And so she's like, how can you say I love you when your heart is not with me? Yeah. So laying on the guilt, laying on the blame, problem's not me, it's you, Samson. And this is the same thing that can happen in our marriages.
Yeah, and this is speaking to somebody.
And then she says, this is the third time you've mocked me and not told me what makes your strength so great. And here's what happened. So this has happened multiple times. He's getting worn down by this because every time it's met, when he's not doing what she is saying to do, what she's demanding, she's blaming him. She's not letting him have a boundary. She's not letting him say no. She's forcing him to do this, and he's not standing up for himself. And what's happened, and this is what happens in a lot of gaslighting situations, because it's the goal of gaslighting is to remove your power.
Yeah.
It's to weaken you. And that's what happened. Here's where we find Samson in verse 16. Because she nagged him day after day and pleaded with him until she wore him out. Gaslighting will wear you out.
Yeah. And obviously Samson has some issues, because why not walk away from that? There's a lot of people who might be listening to this thinking, I would walk away from that. I wouldn't be in that situation. I wouldn't be in a relationship like that. And that's fair, but it also probably didn't happen overnight. It probably was something that was long going.
And it's not as obvious when you're emotionally involved.
When you become emotionally entrenched. That's sometimes the danger of becoming emotionally entrenched, is because you do start to get your rose-colored glasses don't let you see red flags.
Right. And then sometimes when you do, like Samson clearly did in the beginning, and he clearly did throughout because he kept lying, you still question. He was obviously apprehensive, but confused enough to keep giving answers to keep engaging.
Yeah, I'm not ready to leave this relationship.
Yeah.
But I'll do what I can to keep kicking the can down the road.
Right. And eventually she won over and wore him out. And this is what gaslighting will look like in a marriage or in a relationship. The things gaslighters will say, there's a lot of, you're crazy. That never happened. And in this situation, it might be, I never asked you to do that. This was all that I wanted.
Yeah, I just wanted to know before us. I didn't, right? Or it's in your head.
Right. I'm not going to kill you. I'm not going to have you killed.
Yeah.
Where that's 100% what she was doing.
You're just making things up. You're I'm not even saying that. It's in your head. You think that I'm saying that, and then you're running with that.
Right. And then again, a classic line gaslighters will use, is one Delilah did use, is you don't love me. Because if you loved me, then you would X, Y, or Z.
Yeah.
If you loved me, then you would listen to me, then you would give me your most vulnerable thing so I can take advantage of it. And because you're not caving to my every whim, that means you don't love me.
And again, it's one-sided.
Right. Right. And then another common one is you're too sensitive.
Yeah. Yeah. You're just, everything is, you're taking it wrong. It's your fault. It's the way you're seeing it. It's the way you're taking it. I didn't mean it like that. I didn't mean things like that. You're just it's your fault that you're taking it the way that you're taking it, and you're trying to throw it on me somehow.
Right. It's all you. There's never any ownership. There's never any, they never take responsibility or blame for themselves. It's always on
There's a lot of deflection.
the other spouse. There's a lot of deflection. You're right about that. And so this is not like the inductive study on the book of Judges by any means, but as a marriage counselor, this one was a hard one to pass up. I'm like, Delilah, you are a gaslighter, just like that. And what happened as a result, because Samson stayed, because he engaged over and over, and this abuse continued, and it continued, that emotional abuse. He ended up losing because ultimately he caved and he told her.
Yeah,
they came and they gouged out his eyes, and it ultimately resulted in his captivity and in his death. And I'm not saying you're in physical danger all the time, although some of you may
Some might be.
and that if you don't get out, you're going to die. But what the point is, destruction comes from gaslighting.
Emotional, mental.
Yes.
You really start to question yourself and your own capabilities.
Yes. And so where Samson went wrong, we know where Delilah went wrong. And I don't ever want to put the responsibility on the victim, but we want to educate you so you can protect yourselves and stay safe in your marriage and stay protected in your marriage, because he allowed things that he shouldn't have allowed.
Right.
The original question, it's not okay. How can I tie you up and render you helpless? And I don't even know how to make that relatable here. But just things that you know for sure is not okay.
No.
I mean, if you're being asked to do something sexually that you do not want to do, if you're being asked to do something like physically demanding that is exhausting you and you're incapable of doing, that this is not right. If you're being asked to accept the fact that I talk to all these women, they're my friends. You don't need to check my cell phone, where your instant gut reaction is, that ain't right.
Right. Or to lie for somebody, to cover up things that they're doing, wrongdoings.
Right, right.
So there's a lot.
Yeah, and it's like we need to not be allowing these things to happen. And so what we want for you to get out of this episode is we want you to recognize if you're potentially in a marriage like that. And if it's not your marriage, educate yourself on this, because I guarantee you're going to know somebody who is in one.
Yep.
And I will tell you, it's very hard to see through those rose-colored glasses.
Well, look, when you're in the thick of it, it is hard to have perspective. That is really challenged. And we've got an episode 70 with Dr. Clark.
Who's the expert on narcissism and gaslighting and all of that.
Right. And it's enough is enough. We're going to put that in the show notes so we can link that over and you can listen to that if that's a situation that you're in and you just need some better perspective.
Right, right. Because you don't want to, this is not going to lead anywhere good. And so we want to wrap this up with just giving you some real clues to know if you're indeed being gaslighted. And one of the biggest ones is you second guess yourself.
Yeah.
You originally were this very competent person who could make decisions and you knew your opinions and you knew your thoughts. But now it's like, well, did I do that? Am I right? I'm not sure. Maybe I did do what they're saying.
Or can I do this? Or am I without them on alone? And am I too sensitive? Right? Am I always taking things too wrong?
Because you're being told you're too sensitive.
Right. And, or is this something that, reasonable is for you to at least question?
Right. Right, because a gaslighter will try to devalue your feelings and tell you constantly your feelings are wrong. You are being too sensitive. And when you start believing maybe they are.
Right. Well, because you'll feel confused a lot is another one. And so you're questioning yourself. You're questioning your own judgment and your own and what you may have thought of at first. Now you're going, well, maybe I'm just seeing things wrong, and now you lean more upon that person's judgment than your own.
Right, right. And then if you're always apologizing, you know, and if you have a spouse that never apologizes.
Right. And not just if you're a people pleaser, but if the
Right.
situation is you're in a position where you have to be the one who apologizes because they're never wrong.
Right. Where you feel forced to apologize, where this situation is not going to go away. They're not going to stop. They're going to be relentless until I apologize.
Because it's your fault.
Yeah, and I would even add on to that you never hear an apology back from them. Because a gaslighter will never take ownership. And so if everything is one-sided in your marriage like that, that's a problem.
Yep. And of course, like I said it before, if you're making excuses for your spouse, well, it's almost that not even being asked to lie for them, but you're making excuses. Well, you just don't understand the pressure they're under, or you don't know them like I do, and those kind of things. And it's like, well, but is it really excusable behavior? Even if someone's under a certain amount of pressure, is that still excusable behavior? It might be understandable on occasion.
And I feel like that's almost you trying to convince yourself that there's a reason. You know, there's a reason why they're doing this, because the truth can't be that they don't care about me and that they don't have my best interest at heart. The truth can't be that my husband, my wife, doesn't love me the way that they should.
Yeah.
And so, and to keep from accepting that truth, we will provide an excuse that justifies it. But let us tell you, there's absolutely no justification for being treated this way. There's no justification for it. And, you know, the last one is if you have been forced to withdraw from your friends and your family, or if you are electively withdrawing from your friends and your family, because maybe it's like, you know what, I'm too scared of what they're going to say out in public.
Right.
I don't want my friends, my family to know that this is how they are, that this is how I'm being treated. But a gaslighter, on the other hand, will also say, I don't want you around your friends. Your friends are crazy. Your friends are always trying to get you to do this or that.
They're problem starters.
Yes, your mom
trying
is
to get
always,
between us.
Your mom doesn't like me, so you need to choose me over your mom. Things like that. And so if any of these things are happening in your marriage, you need to get some support.
Yeah.
You need to get some help, and go back and listen to Dr. Clark's episode 70. Grab it in our show notes, because that's going to give you real practical help. And there are resources in that episode that you're going to need, because here's the deal. If you have gaslighting in your marriage, you're never going to be able to
enjoy the journey.